Reaction coming up. But first, here is Mike Duffy in the Senate this evening. And a reminder that the Senate is not televised, so there's audio only. But listen to this.
Honourable Senator Duffy.
Thank you, honourable senators. I want to speak to this motion in support of it because I believe, after the excellent speech we've heard from the Leader of the Opposition here in the Senate, that there are a lot of questions that need answers. And while some might argue that having the proceedings before a judge and under oath might be absolutely preferable given the size of the issue we're dealing with, any move towards allowing senators to have their say before they're shipped off, I think is great. A great move, and I support it. I rise here today against the orders of my doctors, who fear my heart condition has worsened after months of unrelenting stress. But given the unprecedented nature of today's proceedings, I feel I have no other choice than to come here to defend my good name. Like you, I took a solemn oath to put the interests of Canadians ahead of all else. However, the sad truth is, I allowed myself to be intimidated into doing what I knew in my heart was wrong out of a fear of losing my job and out of a misguided sense of loyalty. Much has been made of the $90,000 check from Nigel Wright. I hope I'll be able to give an explanation of the chain of events and the circumstances surrounding that gift without impugning the rights of others to a fair trial should criminal proceedings follow. Let me summarize it this way. December 3rd, 2012, the Ottawa Citizen ran a story asking, how could I claim expenses for my house in Canada when I had owned the home there before I was appointed to the Senate? The inference was clear. I was doing something wrong. I immediately contacted Nigel Wright, the Prime Minister's Chief of Staff, and explained that I was doing nothing improper. Nigel Wright emailed me back saying he'd had my expenses checked and he was satisfied that my accounts were in order. That all was in compliance with Senate rules. In fact, he said, there were several other senators in the same situation. This was in December 2012. Mr. Wright said, the story is a smear. Following the PMO's advice, I ignored the media. But the attacks from Post media continued and the political heat escalated. So after caucus on February 13th of this year, I met the Prime Minister and Nigel Wright, just the three of us. I said that despite the smear in the papers, I had not broken the rules. But the Prime Minister wasn't interested in explanations or the truth. It's not about what you did, it's about the perception of what you did that's been created in the media. The rules are inexplicable to our base. I argued, I'm just following the rules like all of the others. But it didn't work. I was ordered by the Prime Minister, pay the money back. End of discussion. Nigel Wright was present throughout, just the three of us. The next week, while I was at home in PEI, I had a series of discussions on the phone with Nigel Wright. I said I didn't believe I'd broken the rules and that to repay would be an admission of guilt. Canadians know me as an honest guy. To pay back money I didn't owe would destroy my reputation. The PMO piled on the pressure. Some honourable senators called me in PEI. One senator, in particular, left several particularly nasty and menacing messages. Do what the Prime Minister wants. Do it for the PM and for the good of the party. I continued to resist. Finally, the message from the PMO became, do what we want or else. And what was the else? He said the Conservative majority on the steering committee of the Board of Internal Economy, Senators Tatachuk and Stuart Olson, would issue a press release declaring me unqualified to sit in the Senate. However, if you do what we want, the Prime Minister will publicly confirm that you're entitled to sit as a senator from PEI and you won't lose your seat. Tatchuk and Stuart Olson are ready to make that press release now. I said, they don't have the power to do that. He said, agree to what we want right now or else. I made one last effort. I said, I don't believe I owe anything. And besides which, I don't have $90,000. Don't worry, Nigel said. I'll write the check. Let the lawyers handle the details. You just follow the plan, and we'll keep Carolyn Stuart Olson and David Tatchuk at bay. There were elaborate undertakings which were negotiated among the several lawyers involved in this. They were taking instructions from their clients. At least 2 lawyers from the PMO, one I know of from the Conservative Party, and my own lawyer. There was an undertaking made by the PMO with the agreement of the Senate leadership that I would not be audited by Deloitte, that I'd be given a pass. And further, that if this phony scheme ever became public, Senator LeBreton, the government leader of the day, would whip the Conservative caucus to prevent my expulsion from the chamber. PMO officials confided it wasn't easy to get this commitment to do as they were told from Senators LeBreton, Tatchuk, and Stuart Olson, but the email chain shows it took hours of shuttling back and forth as the lawyers checked with their principals about the guarantees they were going to give to ensure that I wasn't censured for going along with this PMO scheme. Given all of those emails, you can imagine my shock when I heard there's not a single document about all of this in the PMO, not one. In response to an access to information request, CBC was told there's not one single document related to this matter in the PMO. Well, if they're not in the PMO, they're in the hands of my lawyers, and I suspect in the hands of the RCMP. Why don't I release those documents now? Because the people involved have rights which under our system must be protected. Are the police looking at possible criminal charges? Are they wondering about bribery, threats, and extortion of a sitting legislator? This is serious stuff, and the people who were involved, and there's more than those I've mentioned here today, deserve to have their rights protected. It's the Canadian way. It will all come out in due course when all of the players are under oath and the email chain can be seen in its entirety. While all of this was going on in the interim, despite the big agreement, I was sent off to Deloitte, not by the Board of Internal Economy, but by the Special Select Subcommittee, not Senator Marshall's group. No, I wasn't sent there. I was sent straight off to Deloitte by Senators Stuart Olson, Tatchuk, and Senator Fury. Straight to Deloitte. And then, when Deloitte wanted to see everything, including my wife's bank account, I was told in the reading room in the back, they've got all they need. It doesn't matter. Don't bother. After combing my living expense claims, my travel claims, Senate air travel, my cell phone records, Senate Amex, Deloitte found that I had not violated the Senate rules. Then in May, after someone leaked selected excerpts of a confidential email I had sent to my lawyer in February, in which I voiced my opposition and concern about the deal, the PMO was back with a vengeance. I was called at home in Cavendish by Ray Novak, Senior Assistant to the Prime Minister. He had with him Senator LeBreton, Leader of the Government in the Senate. Senator LeBreton was emphatic. The deal was off. If I didn't resign from the Conservative caucus within 90 minutes, I'd be thrown out of the caucus immediately, without a meeting, without a vote. In addition, she said, if I didn't quit the caucus immediately, I'd be sent to the Senate Ethics Committee with orders from the leadership to throw me out of the Senate. With Ray Novak, my wife, and my sister listening in on the call, Senator Breton was insistent. You've got to do this, Mike. Do what I'm telling you. Quit the caucus within the next 90 minutes. It's the only way to save your paycheck. Quote, I understand that caucus disputes are internal and not a matter for the Senate. However, when one's status as a senator is repeatedly threatened, I believe this amounts to an attack on my independence as a senator and is criminal, or at the very least, a serious violation of my privileges. Colleagues like you, this kind of politics is not why I came to the Senate of Canada. It's not why millions of Canadians voted for the Conservative Party. It's not the Canadian way. I came here to build a better country, to use my experience as a journalist to help build a better Prince Edward Island. I want to continue my hard work for the island, and I can only do that if you follow due process. Honourable Senators, this particular motion, should it pass, will be a serious violation of my human rights, including the most fundamental right of all, to be considered innocent until proven guilty. That's a basic right in our democracy. In the words of the Bill of Rights Act of 1960, one of the great Tory accomplishments in my lifetime, and in my view, John Diefenbaker's most important legacy, we are all entitled to fundamental justice. This motion, put forward by Senator Carignan, is in direct conflict with any sense of fundamental justice. Not only is it a firing without a firing, as Senator Siegel has correctly pointed out, it deprives me not only of a paycheck, but of a health plan, of life insurance. This, a guy who came back off sick leave because of serious heart problems. Who's going to buy the heart drugs I need? What kind of a country do we have when the power can override the sick leave provisions of the Federal Government of Canada Health Care Act or arrangement? I've got a certificate at home that says I'm a member of the government health plan. Well, guess what? Senator Carignan has the power to tear it up. Doesn't matter. I gave up a life insurance plan because I had government insurance under the Senate. What, that's all going to be gone in the twinkling of an eye because of a conspiracy? Let me repeat. Deloitte investigated. Their audit of my expenses related to my home and PEI did not find wrongdoing, and they said I had not broken the Senate's rules. It was the 15 members of the Senate Board of Internal Economy who refused to accept the determination of the independent auditors at Deloitte. Why? I still don't understand. And those same senators who conspired to put me in this corner, conspired to destroy my reputation with Canadians, they are going to sit here in judgment of me? Let me be clear. I violated no laws. I followed the rules, and I've got a ton of documentation, including a memo, two-page memo from Senator LeBreton's office about it. And I never received a single note from Senate Finance or the leadership that suggested anything in my travels was amiss. In fact, those on the other side will remember how often I was lauded by the Prime Minister in a weekly meeting for all of the traveling I was doing and all of the assistance I was providing Senator Gerstein, who has been an honorable man throughout this sad affair. Serving in this chamber has been, I'll repeat, the greatest public or professional honor I've ever had. Why would I want to subvert it or discredit it in any way? I did not, and I do not. Needless to say, I strongly agree with the remarks made on the weekend by Senator Siegel. This motion is something one might expect to see in Iraq or Iran or in Vladimir Putin's Russia, but not in democratic Canada. It is not, I repeat, it is not fundamental justice. Mr. Diefenbaker and Mr. Trudeau, were they here today, would be mortified. I urge you to defeat these motions, or at the very least vote in favor of Senator Cowan's motion to refer so that people can have their day in court. Honourable Senators and my friends, especially my colleagues on the other side, today you are facing what I faced in February. Be a team player and go along with the PMO and the Senate leadership, or stand up and do your constitutional duty. I wish I'd had the courage to say no back in February when this monstrous political scheme was first ordered. Today, you have an opportunity to stand strong and use your power to restrain the unaccountable power of the PMO. That's what this Senate's about. Sober second thought, not taking dictation from kids in short pants down the hall. I urge you to say no to these outrageous motions. Tell the whips, my oath as a senator is to put Canada first, and that comes before my loyalty to any party or any leader. Senators, Canadians are watching. Thank you.
Hello again, I'm Peter Van Dusen, and you have been listening to embattled Senator Mike Duffy in the Senate this evening, alleging there was a conspiracy at the highest levels of the Conservative government to force him to repay Senate expense money to satisfy the Conservative Party base. Well, another senator facing suspension from the Senate without pay is Patrick Brazeau. He also took the opportunity to make his case in the Senate today. And once again, a reminder, the Senate is not televised, so there is audio only of his remarks.
Senator Brazeau. Honorable Senator Brazeau.
Well, I guess the Senate is in fact where due process goes to die. Our very society, our democracy, is built upon the concept that we are all entitled to due process, regardless of their racial heritage, gender, sexual orientation, employment status, or political preferences. All people are innocent until proven guilty, but obviously not here. The burden of proof lies with the accuser, not with the accused. But then again, we have unlimited time for the accuser to speak and only 15 minutes for the accused. At what point upon entry to this chamber do honourable senators lose their memory of and respect of fair process? Does the autumn breeze blow it like dust off their overcoats as they reach Parliament Hill? Due process, never heard of it. What does it mean to believe in a principle? If our principles disappear when tested, then perhaps they were never our principles at all. I am told that my due process is being suspended today to protect the dignity of the Senate. We'll get back to that later. Let us pause for a moment to reflect on what actions would contribute to the dignity of the Senate. Was it dignified to vote and accept a report that you did not read? Please allow me to remind you that because you did not read the Board of Internal Economy's report regarding my housing claims, you were unaware that the board ignored the advice of an outside auditor. The Deloitte report clearly and unmistakably faults the Senate for its incoherent policy, but you remain in the dark about this because you did not read the details before voting to sanction me. And colleagues, I ask you, how does that protect the dignity of the Senate? Your Board of Internal Economy developed a new 4-part residency test to determine primary residence. The outside auditor determined that I meet that test. We'll get back to that later as well. What you failed to tell your audience is that the outside auditor found a troubling lack of clarity in your policy. So incoherent is your policy that this well-respected and renowned auditor was ultimately unable to come to any clear decision on the data before them. They were clear on only one point, that the current Senate policy is insufficient and incoherent. And yet there you are in your splendor, assuring all Canadians that the bad guys have been found, that the policy is clear and all is well. How does such duplicity in any way contribute to the dignity of the Senate? When you fail to hold your Board of Internal Economy to account for charging taxpayers for the services of an expensive audit, or whose advice they chose to disregard anyway, does this contribute to the dignity of the Senate? When rules are changed behind closed doors and sanctions imposed retroactively, does that contribute to the dignity of the Senate? When no one can explain why the rules and procedures do not seem to apply equally to all, and when honourable senators offer up the feeble excuse that it's not my job to know this or that, is the dignity of the Senate now protected? Paying lip service to due process while removing every vestige of it does nothing to protect the dignity of the Senate. While we might not find due process enacted in every corner of this country, one certainly would expect to find it in an institution at the heart of federal policy and lawmaking. Now let's bring some context to the issue at hand. In November of 2012, a report from media source of CTV came with their very unbalanced and sensationalist report. We saw on TV people saying that they never saw me in the town of Maniwaki. Well, I was called to appear before the Subcommittee on Internal Economy to refute, because that was the mandate of the subcommittee, was to look into the media reports considering residency. Well, I did that. And I brought, and you know, I'm going to say this outright because I can. I mean, that was a kangaroo court at its best. I appeared before 3 members of the Subcommittee on Internal Economy, and they didn't even know what questions to ask of me. Everybody was uncomfortable. But here's the fact. I am the one who provided the information that the Senate now utilizes for the criteria for primary residence. And the Deloitte auditors said that of all the senators that they looked into, I am the only one who met all 4 criteria. And yet I hear that there's an RCMP investigation going on in these matters. Well, I don't know, because I haven't been personally approached by any RCMP officer. Now, so if the Deloitte auditors said that I met all 4 primary criteria for primary residence, why is there an investigation at all? What did I do? Well, I'll tell you what I did. Before I started claiming the housing allocation, I asked Senate administration if I could claim. And I have it in black and white. Yes, I could. I went further and asked, well, can we claim just for the sitting months that the Senate sits? And the response that I got back in black and white from the Senate administration is, no, you can claim for the entire year. Okay, so I did that. In black and white, I have it from the Senate administration that I was eligible to claim expenses. Oh, but here's a go-getter. Senate administration throughout all several months asked my assistant, why isn't he claiming any per diems? Well, I'm a better cook and I cook at home. I never claimed per diems or incidentals. In fact, my expenses, my travel expenses, I believe, are under the amount of $5,000. And I never hid the fact that when I did go back to my primary residence, I claimed. When I did not go, I did not claim. And it's nobody's business what any of us do on our personal time, as long as we're not billing the taxpayer. And I never billed the taxpayer for that. And the auditors also highlighted that fact. Fact, not innuendo, not sensationalism. Fact. So, and I've been asking for quite some time to have an open meeting of the Board of Internal Economy, because what goes on in those back rooms, we don't know. We don't sit on that committee. And it's a little bit ironic. It's the Board of Internal Economy that also approves the expenses that we submit. But yet they're there judging us, or judging some of us, or trying to. Well, we all know what this is about, but we'll get into that as well. Now, a little bit of further information and context. Soon after this story broke in November of 2012, I was in the hometown of Senator Tkachuk in Saskatoon. I was traveling on committee business at that time. And I got a call from his office saying that he wanted to talk to me, so I called him. And he had some serious concerns with the media report that had come the night before. And he asked me this one question: did you submit any false claims? My response was absolutely not. I guaranteed him on the phone. It was about 11 o'clock in the morning, Saskatchewan time. But he asked me that question: did you submit any false claims? I said absolutely not. He says, well, then you'll be fine. During the Conservative caucus's Christmas party on the Senate side in December of 2012, which was just before I appeared before the subcommittee on internal economy, I had a private discussion with Senator Tkachuk. And I asked him, why was it that only I and Senator Harb at the time who was going to appear before the subcommittee? And I mentioned my colleague's name. Why isn't Senator Duffy, who, you know, there was allegations of housing issues with respect to my colleague as well. And I asked, why isn't he being required to appear before the subcommittee? And I quickly assumed correctly that they wanted to protect Senator Duffy, but used Senator Harb and Senator Brazeau, myself, as scapegoats to protect Senator Duffy. And this is in no disrespect to Senator Duffy, but this is my calculation of what was going on here. And if you recall, Senator Tkachuk, I sang you a wonderful song because I quickly figured out what was going on here. And I sang the Garth Brooks song, I Have Friends in Low Places. Because I knew at that time what was going on.
The fix was in.
So I meet before the subcommittee. I provided all the information, not that they requested, because they didn't know what to request. I and my legal counsel provided the information, again, which sets the basis for primary residence. So all of you, I'm sure, after April 1st, sign a declaration of primary residence, and you have to meet all 4 criteria. Well, the auditor said that I met all 4 criteria. I still meet 4 criteria, but I get a letter from Internal Economy saying, oh, no, not you, Senator Brazeau. You are not eligible for any expenses due to housing because, well, we don't know. So how could that happen? Is this democracy? I've been asking for months and months to have a public hearing so I can give my side of the story, and I've been denied at every turn. This is not administrative. This is not a legal battle between lawyers in here trying to interpret what the rules and regulations are. No, this is political abuse of power at its most.
Terrible.
And Senator Carrington talked about, you know, the power that the I'm sort of speaking like Senator Baker here, but
He's a great.
not as well versed, but
emulate.
you know, with the hands, you know, but. I've been trying to have a fair process, and I've been told no at every turn. I demanded to be able to speak to the motion with respect to my suspension. I was denied. Well, like I said, we're talking about the power that the Senate has, or Senator Carrington was talking about the powers that the Senate has, but he forgot the outright abuse of power that is trying to be tested here. It's a complete joke. I mean, you talk about, you talk about protecting the dignity of the Senate. Well, I have nothing to hide. Do any of you? Open up the meetings so that we can move beyond this. We can get to the heart of this matter.
Order, please. Honourable Senators, is it agreed that we do not see the clock? Senator Brazeau.
So this is the dignity of the Senate, and the world is watching. The world is watching. This is an absolute abuse of power and political power at its most. I'll use the words that Senator LeBreton used at my expense several weeks ago, in which he called me a failed experiment. Well, the way in this, the leadership on the other side and the Board of Internal Economy has managed this issue is a complete farce. And that has been a failed experiment. We talk about gross negligence, or some talk about gross negligence. Well, let me speak about gross negligence. The only gross negligence here, we don't have to wait for Stephen Harper or whoever the next Prime Minister will be to reform this place. We don't need to wait for the Supreme Court to reform this place. We can reform this place by making the Board of Internal Economy public to all Canadians. Because you make decisions in the back rooms, in the back doors that nobody knows about, but yet you're ready to throw 3 of your own under the bus just to protect yourselves. Well, I'm going to tell everyone here, you all better be clean before you make these types of decisions. Because if you could look at yourself in the mirror and say, I'm clean, then you have a right to vote. But I'm telling you, and I'm telling all Canadians today, I am clean. I do not do anything wrong. And if I did, I'll take responsibility. But give me the opportunity for you to tell me in my face where I went wrong, which rules did I break, any wrongdoing that I may have made. No, instead we have the Board of Internal Economy going against the Deloitte report, going against their own rules as they go along. They make up each and every day for political purposes. Give me that opportunity. And all I have to say in conclusion, I'll keep it short because I think that I'll probably get that opportunity. But I'll just say again to all Canadians, if this is the Harper government's way of believing in democracy and exercising democracy, I think we should all be very fearful. This is a complete joke, a complete farce. And Stephen Harper, you lost my vote.